Hi, so let's have a look at what I've bought over here. So it's not really going to be a review because I've just taken the packet away. It's going to be more of an overview style video about this remote control light bar. So as you can see in the corner there, it comes with a remote control pack. I've actually seen the BenQ Halo screen bar a lot, and I think this is going to be like that, except a bit cheaper and maybe a bit more versatile. As you can see on the back, it can mount to practically every type of monitor you can find, even something like this, which is this kind maybe. It's about 41 centimeters in length, can do warm white and pure white light. It's the XR14LB. It cost me about 50 euros, though maybe it's on a sale. It has a 5-volt power input for 1 amp, so basically power supply, can work with it, and of course it's made in China. What a surprise! Okay, let's open the box up, which isn't even taped, which is kind of weird. Many boxes are actually taped to prevent theft or embezzlement of items in the box. There we go, I've got a gift card with the special gift, whatever. This is some instructions to operate the remote. Here I have the remote, of course. You have to remove the film and put in the battery somehow. I've got the instructions. Ooh, what's in this? So that is actually a weighted mount. So I put this on the monitor and hopefully that's going to help it stay put. With a bit of rubber and a bit of film. And there we go. This is the screen bar itself. So right there I've got light on the front, and that's why it's called dual light. I've got light at the back. So when you're using a monitor, it's very important to have good light, because it can make the difference between a productive day and a messed up sleep cycle. So I've just put it on the being over here. Now turning our attention to the monitor, onto which this will in fact fit, and it's practically exactly the same length as my monitor. And finally we've got a surprisingly long power lead. I thought the power lead was going to be very short. I'm going to have to supply one of my own, but it's coiled up and it looks like this. It's pretty good. So let's see if I can turn this on and if I've mounted it the right way around. I think so. Just remove the light from monitor again, just to find out how to plug in this right angle plug, and because I've got a film to remove. And of course right over there I'm going to plug her in and see if it works. Let's turn this thing on to power. Nope, it doesn't work because the remote, I'm going to have to configure the remote somehow. And in order to use the remote, the third thing I've got to do is include these batteries as well. I'm going to put them in the remote. It's unfortunately not USB-C rechargeable. There we go. Instead you use this set of double A's, which are these things. So let's just put in these batteries. They come in these awful plastic container things that aren't recyclable. I wish they used some plastic bags or something, but yeah, this had a rechargeable battery via USB-C, or even otherwise. So here we go. And I'm going to put the cover back on, and oh, it should work, right? I'm just going to put the cover on. Oh, I think it's got to go in a particular way. There we go, I've got these rubber rails on the bottom to stop it moving around too much, and another film to remove. Let's see. So off camera somehow I had to pull this up. It's a bit tight. There we go. Now I'm going to point the light back to the monitor just to see how this works. Power is right on over there. Let's use the master switch. Yes, there we go. We can, of course, adjust the brightness like this. It's very low, very high. Use these buttons for that. Then there is the little button over here that is to turn on the display, and this is brightness and color temperature. Can lower to a warm white or rise it up to a cool white. Let's lower the brightness a bit as well. This turns on the backlight. You might not see the effect of it on camera, but in person I can very much see how this can illuminate the background as well as the foreground of what you're seeing. Now the idea when adjusting a screen bar like this is to have it bounce the light so that it goes just off any screens in front of you, but it does land on your desk surface, so it's useful for drawing, it's useful for computer use, so that's that. And I think it's going to work quite well. So I'm just going to try to use this for an evening with the screen on and talk about what happened. Of course I can't show you much of anything of what I'm doing with this camera because of the lack of effect on the background as well as the moire pattern. What I can do though is I can close off my curtain and see what effect the auxiliary light has on the monitor effect. So I tap it right there. You tap it and turn it on and off. You hold it and it can lower the brightness. Hold it again and it rises the brightness. So that's basically controls just power, light temperature, brightness. It can go very high and the colour temperature can go very low to create a very cosy atmosphere. I think, if I haven't tested it again, that I really only need the main overhead light over there. So right off screen, these for video making to get a good backlight for the camera, but everything else I can just use these little auxiliary lights like this monitor light as well as that light behind there that my mum gave to me, and that multicolour light over there that I've had for quite some time. That can not only change the temperature but also the hue of the light. So it's green, red, warm white. It's just as pure white as I can get it. Green, blue and all the derivative colours of that. So yeah, that's it for now, but I'm going to have a look at how this all worked out when I'm using this to play some video games and do some computer work as well. Okay, so a bit of an update. I've used the light bar for a couple of hours at this point for an evening. Closed the curtains and now I can tell you what I like and don't like about this light bar. Well, firstly, I have to recall that you need some sort of lighting, as preferably one on or near the desk whenever you're at the desk, to illuminate the work surface, but also to provide a bit of a contrast against your monitor, because in a very dark room, a monitor that's turned on very brightly will appear very close to your eyes, and that can lead to eye strains and reduce sleep quality. So having any sort of light near a monitor is very important, but comparing this to just turn on the ceiling lights, I actually think this is quite a bit easier because of two things. First of all, we've got this remote control pack thing, which I just press a button on and it wakes up, press a button again and it performs an action. I don't have to get up to a light switch to turn the light on or off. And secondly, it means that whenever I turn off the main system power for the monitor and some other stuff on the desk, the monitor light also turns off because they share a power adapter. Another little thing I've just done without any proper like real world stress testing, like playing a long video game, is I've actually compared the light intensity between the monitor light and the ceiling lights. The ceiling lights are two 470 lumen bulbs in my case, just off to the side of the desk, which I only feels maybe a little bit uncomfortable. I haven't had too many issues, but maybe I did. But it's also bonkers amount of lights to have in this room. Like, I mean, as you can see, I can make a video with that light. The monitor light, however, only produces about 240 lumens, which is not only a huge energy saving, but also, again, goes a great way of saving the eyes against overlighting and light disparities even further. Not only that, but the light is very much focused to form a kind of curtain over the monitor, which then falls onto the desk. So even when I'm looking down like this, for drawing or something, I can have a pretty good lighting condition. Whereas with the ceiling light, that obviously creates a huge shadow that I cannot work around. Maybe this does that as well. I might have to test that out this weekend. But I can tell that I love the controls that come with this light. You have just touch buttons, so you tap it once to wake it up, another time to perform an action. And they do require a bit of pressure to use. It's not like a smartphone. And that means it's kind of hard to turn the light on by accident. But on the other hand, it means it's very easy to turn the lamp on when I intend to turn the lamp on. And when I turn the lamp off, I also do that without any kind of issue. You also get that benefit with the desk side lamp, but that doesn't create the monitor curtain that is considered ideal by many desk professionals and enthusiasts. And not only that, I can also adjust the color temperature to my preference and the time of day. And I can lower the brightness even lower than the maximum if that is needed. I can turn off the backlight remotely and, you know, just not have to get up to turn off the top light when I'm done, like the ceiling light. But now also a couple of things I don't really like too much about this product. First of all, the remote control, though it is very heavy, uses AA batteries, and it actually has a little indicator on there that says where it is, which is handy, but means that it will be using quite a bit of energy from those batteries and they might need regular replacement. So that's one thing. In addition, the control sometimes requires a bit of pressure to use, as I told before. It's kind of a like and a don't like, because sometimes even though I want to turn the light on or off, it can actually fail because I tap too lightly. Now, the little weird thing I'm actually getting from this light that my ceiling light doesn't generate is a bit of a disparity in the lighting. At the very top of the monitor, there's a bit of a line thing that kind of falls down. That might be good, but it also just, yeah. How can I say that? I think that's actually alright, but ideally monitor light shouldn't be bleeding onto the monitor at all, and this one does a little. It's not enough to cause big glare and moire effects like a desk side light would do, but it is a little bit. Fortunately, however, this light compensates that and contrast effects of working under low light conditions via a bias light on the back, which is built into the light's body instead of in the mounting system like it is on some other products that I've seen, which means that it will only really illuminate the very top of the monitor and not the bottom. But still, I'm going to need some further testing to see how this will actually work out. Okay, so at first I thought of playing The Sims 3 again. I've got that working on prototype. I'll be making a video about that later next week. But yeah, I'm going to be stuck in the game for hours on end and lose a sense of time. So I decided to go for something a bit more simpler. I played F-Zero on Super Nintendo via RetroArch. First I turned on the ceiling light and it went alright, though it wasn't particularly affecting my eyes. I had a bit of eye strain from the previous test that proved that lighting was important at all when using a monitor of any capacity, which was true. And then I turned on the monitor light, and not only did it feel like my eye strain went away a bit because it was a bit more comfortable to the eyes, though that might be a placebo effect, there was also more immediately an effect noticeable, which is that the perceived contrast actually changes between the two. It is subtle, and I couldn't really catch it on camera that well, but on very dark scenes they actually get a bit lighter when you have light that can shine right onto the section, whereas when you don't have such a light source. So it kind of changes your perception of contrast, even though I tried to take 2 photos of the screen, I couldn't really find a difference. I think this is less of an optical, more of a psychological problem that this light is trying to solve. Again, that means it could be a placebo effect, but I nevertheless do still think that this light bar, simply for its energy and time efficiency just to light up the desk area, was a worthwhile purchase. I'm saying that as someone who's not sponsored by Xedor, the company who made the light. I actually intended this light to also be kind of useful for drawing, so in another part of this video I'm going to illustrate that use as well, or at least describe it. And so here is actually where this video is going to end, and I'm going to be making a review of this thing later on, so see you next time. Bye bye! I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do, please give a thumbs up and share this video with all your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.